All right, welcome to the Explainer. Today we are diving into a modern Python command line app. Now, on the surface, it looks like a pretty simple task manager, right? But what we're going to do is uncover the design principles that make it super robust, scalable, and honestly, a fantastic example of great software engineering. So what really makes a simple app great? It's a question that, separates the good software from the great software. And it's not just about the features you can see. It's really about that thoughtful architecture, the stuff that's hiding just underneath that makes an app reliable, easy to maintain, and hey, even a pleasure for other developers to work with. All right, let's kick things off by looking at the finished product. And this is not your average to-do list, okay? It's a really sleek, modern way to manage your tasks, all from the terminal, and it's built with some of the best tools out there today. So you've got your standard stuff, right? Adding, updating tasks, but this app has two key things going for it. First, it uses persistent JSON storage. That's just a simple text-based way to save your data, so when you close the app and open it back up, everything's still there. And second, check out that rich, colorful terminal UI. It actually makes managing tasks feel, well, less like a chore. Okay, so what's it actually like to use this thing? Well, the whole experience is designed to be super fast and intuitive. There are no complicated menus, just straight-up commands to get your work done. So, want to create a new task? It's just one single clear command. You just type add, give it a title, a description, and boom, hit enter. No fuss, no waiting around, it's just done. And what if you want to see everything you've got going on? Just type list. That's it. All your tasks pop up in this clean, organized table, right there in your terminal. It makes it incredibly easy to see everything at a glance. Of course, plans change, right? Tasks evolve. So what if you need to make a change? It's just as simple. You just point to the task using its ID and then tell it exactly what you want to update. Super straightforward. And then you get that super satisfying moment of actually finishing a task. The complete command, followed by the task's ID, just marks it as done. It's clean, simple, and seriously effective. Okay, let's get into the good stuff. You've seen what it does, which is cool on its own, but the real magic, the part that makes this such a great example of modern software, is how it's built. So let's pull back that curtain. The whole app is brilliantly organized into three distinct layers. Think of it like a really well-run kitchen. You've got the CLI layer, that's your front counter handling all the user interactions. Then you've got the storage layer, that's the pantry, managing where and how all the data is saved. And finally, the data model, that's the recipe book, defining exactly what a task is supposed to look like. Now, this whole approach is based on a core software design principle called separation of concerns. And all that really means is that each part of the program has its own job and minds its own business. The user interface code doesn't need to know how the data is stored, and the storage code doesn't care one bit about how the data is displayed. Each part does one job and does it well. And that makes the entire system so much cleaner and way easier to fix or update down the line. So what actually happens when you add a new task? I mean, it doesn't just appear out of thin air. Let's actually trace its journey through the application, all the way from your keyboard and deep into the system. Okay, here's how it flows. First, you type the command. Then a library called typer, which is awesome for building these kinds of interfaces. It parses your input and calls the right function. That function then turns around and tells the storage layer, hey, save this new task. The storage layer writes it to that tasks.json file, and finally, you get a nice little confirmation message back on your screen. See? It's a clear, predictable path through the whole app. And here it is. This is what that task looks like when it's just chilling in storage. It's a clean, structured JSON object, right inside that tasks.json file. Every piece of information has its own little slot, which makes it super easy for the program to read and write without ever getting confused. And look, this clean structure isn't just about making things look pretty. It's absolutely fundamental to building high-quality software that's meant to last. So let's look at some of the core principles from this project that you can totally apply to your own work. This project really embraces modern Python best practices. It uses type hints, which basically tell you what kind of data to expect in a variable, making the code way easier to understand. It uses data classes to neatly bundle related data together, and of course, it sticks to that crucial idea of separation of concerns, and the whole thing is backed by a full set of automated tests. And this slide just illustrates the benefits so perfectly. On one side, you have these nice independent layers that are easy to change and simple to test. But on the other side, you have monolithic code. that tangled mess where one tiny change over here can randomly break everything over there, the choice is pretty obvious, right? And that comprehensive test suite, it really does act like a safety net. This project has specific tests just for the command line interface to make sure all the commands work, and then separate tests for the storage layer to verify that data is being saved and loaded correctly. It just gives you so much confidence when you're making changes. Okay, and here is the big payoff for all this careful work. Because that foundation is so strong, expanding the project with new features becomes dramatically simpler. You're not trying to untangle a messy code base, you're just building on solid ground. So, the most important takeaway here is that good architecture makes future growth possible. If you want to add things like task priorities or due dates or even a whole web interface, you don't have to rewrite everything from scratch. You just build on top of the solid layers that are already there. Ultimately, the principles we've seen in this project, they aren't just about one single app. They're about a mindset. Every single line of code you write contributes to a larger story. So the question is, what kind of story do you want to tell? Is it going to be a story of quick fixes and tangled logic? Or is it one that's clear, intentional, and really built to last? That's something to think about.